When you're involved in wildlife, you have to deal with authorities. Now, an authority is a necessary body, and they have different functions. And of course, as you would imagine, nature conservation in South Africa was the authority who takes care of wildlife. These are true tales of my African adventures. May this inspire you, deter you, caution you, and above all, entertain you. So they have the research arm and they have the administrative arm, etc., etc. But what they have, amongst other things, is the law enforcement. Now, law enforcement is necessary, as you know, just like you have those dedicated policemen who patrol the highways and the policemen who take care of crime like armed robbery and so on. All very, very necessary. But you get rogue policemen. You get policemen who are heavy-handed. You get very kind policemen. You get very good and professional policemen. And you get those who abuse their authority. So we became accustomed to a certain group of law enforcement authorities in nature conservation whose mission it was to try to find fault, try to see if they could get you into court, try to see if they could fine you, find fault with what you're doing. Now, it was a most frustrating thing, let me tell you, and at times very funny. What would generally happen is that because we owned snake parks and we did exhibitions and we did shows revolving around the conservation and education with regard to snakes and reptiles and other animals, of course, as well, we had to transport animals around the country. And from their place in the snake park or in the institution to a show ground, to a school, to wherever. For this you needed permits, and each snake had to be very carefully listed, spiders too, on your permit, and you had to carry this permit with you at all times. Now, if you were caught with one extra snake or one snake less, or some controversy or the other, some omission, they would fine you. They would occasionally warn you, but they especially liked to fine you. And if the transgression was of enough magnitude, they would issue you with a summons and take you to court for prosecution. And I don't know why, but in the Nature Conservation Authority group, they were the worst of the lot. We always had drama with them. We very seldom had friendly, kind, understanding people. So we had to deal with these, and I've been to court on a few occasions, and I've been fined, and I've been through all of this drama. I will tell you some of these stories because, amongst other things, they're quite funny. Because in order to escape their meanness, I sometimes had to go to certain extremes, which were not always necessarily honest in the strict sense of the word. But to kick off on this series, which I would call it, of nature conservation authorities, sorry, here in Africa we have flies that sting. So to kick off, I would like to tell you about our tarantula story. So back in the 70s, there was no law against importing tarantulas into South Africa. Reason being, no one had ever done it before, so no one had bothered to put it on the statute books. So my brother got this bright idea one day to enhance this exhibition we were going to do, to import tarantulas from the US, the United States of America, that great place. So we did. I think it was 24 or 28, I can't remember now, it was a long time ago, and these tarantulas came from all over the place. We had Mexican orange knee tarantulas and cinnamon tarantulas, I think, and curly-head tarantulas, and a bunch of others from around the place. This particular supplier of tarantulas could supply anything. So one day the box arrived, and in the box were lots of other boxes, and there were the tarantulas. They were absolutely fantastic and huge. We do have in South Africa a very big spider called a baboon spider. It's just like a tarantula. They're fantastic. They're protected, as they should be. And we kept a few of those as well. These tarantulas, some were the same size as our baboon spider, others were larger. Now, tarantulas essentially are not venomous in that they cannot really harm you, but if they do bite you, they have very big fangs, and they hurt a little when they penetrate you. And of course there is a substance, poison-like, venom-like substance, and you end up with a bit of swelling and pain like a bee sting or something of that nature. And we got bitten on occasion, and others shed their fine hairs, and which is like asbestos hairs going into you, and you itch all over the place. Very annoying. So we imported the tarantulas, and there we had them, and we got each one into its own little enclosure, otherwise they kill and eat each other. And we used to feed them a varied diet, and they did very well. So they went on their first exhibition, and they did extremely well. People came from all over, far and wide, to see the tarantulas from America. They just loved them. So did we. So one day we got a knock on the door, and it was one of these nature conservation, law enforcement, authoritarian fellows, and he said, "We want your tarantulas. You have imported them, they're illegal, they should not be in the country, and we are going to incinerate them." So, well, we were upset, of course. We didn't want to lose our tarantulas, but we thought particularly not to this obnoxious person. We are not going to hand them over to him to be incinerated. So we said, all right, we will go to the snake park where the tarantulas are, and we will collect them for you in the morning for incineration, because whilst talking to him I had the perfect plan. Now what you need to know is the exoskeleton, or the outer casing or outer shell of the tarantula, has to be molted. They shed it like a skin. It comes off in just about one whole big fantastic piece, and it looks just like the spider. And we kept these for children to take home and to look at and to show when we had exhibitions. So I had a box full of them. So I took one nice perfect size box, put about 30 exoskeletons in, which looked like 30 big tarantulas all piled up on each other, took them back and waited for the nature conservation official the following day. And like clockwork, he turned up with a frown on his face and asked us to hand over the goods so he can go and take them to some medical facility where they would incinerate them. And I said, I have them in this box. They of course didn't know you couldn't put them together in a box, because they just kill each other, and so he thought nothing of it. And I said, you must be very careful not to open the box, because they're very quick and they're poisonous and they bite like hell, and you will regret it. And I said, just to show you that they're there, I took a small flashlight and I opened a little piece of the box, a little side of the box, where the lid was slightly open, and shone the flashlight in, and he recoiled when he saw the mass of hairy spiders all sitting in a sinister position on top of each other. And I said, I'm going to now tape the box up, because if you have an accident or something goes wrong and these spiders get out, you're going to regret it. They will bite you. And so he was very grateful that we taped up the box, and off he went and had the spiders incinerated, which was great because we still had all our spiders and they lived happily ever after. In fact, what I did with them one day is donated them to one of the universities in South Africa. I cannot say which one. And they took over the spiders and did research on them and kept them for many, many happy years. So ends the spider story.